Quin69. This guy used to only stream Diablo 3. I was there the day, and I believe Season 4 of Diablo 3, where Quin69 hit 10,000 viewers for the first time. He used to only stream with a black and white camera. This guy is an OG Diablo streamer and player. He hit rank 1 on the leaderboards multiple times. Here we go.
Yo, what's going on, boys? Quin69 here. How are you guys doing today? Unless you've been living under a rock, the Diablo 4 beta, closed beta, double down beta, or I don't know, premium non-poor people beta has just ended. There was 3 days, and you got to play 3 classes. That was the Barbarian, the Sorcerer, and the Rogue.
Yes.
I've been playing the beta, including queue times, about 16 hours a day.
Yep.
And I've been trying out everything.
Including queue times. That means you really played for like 5.
Itemization, systems, open world, testing all, just look at the graphics, the settings, the control, literally everything, right? I've just been consuming as much, copious amounts of D4 to try and really get a feel for the game and then hopefully give some good feedback. And this is what that video is going to be, right? Okay. I'm going to be hopefully giving you guys like my first impressions of the game and then maybe some feedback, because that's what the beta was for, right? They were stress testing and then they're also looking for feedback. So here we go.
Here comes the feedback.
Now, I need to preface this.
Diablo Reddit's not going to be happy about this one.
Video with, depending on how you look at the game, will massively change your take. You could either love it or you could fucking hate everything about it.
Yes.
And that is because it's called Diablo 4. And what is Diablo 4? That's Diablo with a 4 next to it. Okay, that means Diablo 3. So, okay, well then, of course I'm going to compare it to D3. And then there's Diablo 2. Yeah, okay, these are all ARPGs you're saying. So, yeah, I'm going to compare it. And then, what's the top ARPG on the market right now? Path of Exile. Yep. Let's compare it to Path of Exile.
Which they should.
And if you do this, and you constantly make comparisons, you're going to find there's some massive disconnect there, because you're going to be going, well, look, this game has this. Diablo 4 doesn't even have that. This game has that. D4 doesn't do this. And that is because you are comparing a digger that is just digging a hole and digging dirt to a fucking lawnmower that is cutting grass. Okay, yeah, D3 versus PoE, you kind of like 2 lawnmowers. Okay, D4 is doing something new. Well, it's kind of an amalgamation of mini games, but it is not trying to be the Diablo with a new number on the end. They are trying to make a new...
Yeah, it does. I think what Quin is trying to say is that Diablo 4 is not just your traditional ARPG. They have incorporated other elements from other types of games, such as battle passes, different types of seasonal things, and also MMO elements to the game. And an open world. It is a substantial departure from a traditional ARPG. That's what he's trying to say.
Game. They're taking a lot, pretty fucking big risk actually by doing this. And you need to cast that constant comparison brain out of your mind. And then you need to look
Sometimes
at
it's relevant,
Diablo 4 in a vacuum and be like, wait, am I enjoying this game? Like, is this fun? What's going on here? And then on top of that, different people have different scoring systems, myself included. Do you like to rate games on, the level design, the leveling experience, the fucking lore?
How hot the characters are.
Or are you like a turbo nerd gamer who only doesn't care about any of that shit and only cares about end-game itemization and crafting?
Right.
A perfect example of this is I've been watching a lot of feedback videos. I've been consuming a lot of Diablo content. Asmongold, he rated the game an 8.5 out of 10.
I did.
And I guarantee you, if I gave him different weightings for what he thought was important, if I said, okay, rate the game on these factors, he would give me a different score. And now, what I'm...
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that's true. He's totally right. Yeah, it's like if you care about the story and like the, the flow of the questing, etc., you're going to have a different score than if you only care about like the build optimization. Of course, that's the same with everybody. Yeah, different people like different things.
What I'm getting at is that I myself have massive biases, right?
Everybody does.
I know what I like when it comes to games, and
It's just good to
when it comes to
explain what they
ARPGs especially, I am this game is not just I'm playing through for a story. This is a
1,000.
I'm playing it to play this game for literally thousands of hours.
Yes.
So I'm sitting here
There it is.
looking at the systems and the fundamental seeds that are being sown, like saying, is this going to make me want to just log in and play this game forever and ever and ever? So this is going to be that. I'm coming from this kind of perspective, looking at D4 as its own entity, as its own game, and then kind of looking at the more hardcore aspects of the game. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be like, well, how the hell are you going to rate a game and its systems based on a level 25 beta whenever you're on a level 25 and you can't, what could you possibly know? This is just the starting of the game. Okay, no. Bro, in the beta, okay, you have every skill unlocked. You can see the open world. You can see the dungeon system.
You can extrapolate. You can extrapolate to a degree. And if things are playing badly on the beta, that doesn't seem good. And also, if the experience for the first few hours of the game is bad on the beta, the odds are that that is a very bad thing because that's the first impression that everybody else is going to get.
You can see the questing system, the main quest, the world bosses. You get a really good idea of what you're looking at, right? And using a little bit of extrapolation and just basic logic, you get a pretty fucking good idea of what you're dealing with. But there are pretty large unknowns, like the Paragon board system.
Oh, yeah.
And a few things about like season mechanics and other things that could massively change things, which I will talk about later. There is a lot of things that I want to cover. This is actually a very intimidating video, and hopefully you guys will make it through. But yeah, there's going to be a category system. We're going to talk about pretty much the entire game from aesthetics down to end game. And we'll just do it one category at a time. Wish me luck, boys.
Okay, let's do
I'm going to do my best. Let's start off with something that Diablo 4 is doing right, and that is the graphics / aesthetics, okay? And let me tell you, they did not miss, okay? And I'm not some...
Totally agree. I like the aesthetics. The way the game looks is exactly what I would imagine a Diablo game to look like. Very true.
Sort of shill, but goddamn, the graphics of this game are just...
They're great.
Stunning, okay? When it comes to ARPGs, honestly, I don't think anything even comes close.
No.
That's just a fact, bro. Just the fidelity, how it looks, the shadows, the lighting, the frame rate, how smooth it is, all that shit. Hey, it looks amazing.
Looks good.
I mean, you just zoom in on any part of the game, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, the mechanics, like you can walk around in the snow and it leaves like trails. You can literally draw a cock in the snow. All the critters, you can smack them with your sword. Blood splatters across the ground. The bunny falls down the cliff.
Yeah.
And then don't even get me started on the aesthetics. Obviously, aesthetics are completely subjective. You might like cute little bunnies, and you might like some stupid-looking weeb trash where all the females have titties that are just enormous, and they got massive fucking swords. 5 times as big as their character. They're clipping through the ground. Hey, and D4, let me tell you, they still do some shit. They got characters that look really nice. They can even show some underboob. They can show some underboob, but they don't have all that ridiculous shit. It just looks.
It's pretty grounded overall, I would say. Yeah.
Good. And they don't go overkill either. They don't go, oh, let's give people fucking flaming masks with a fucking thing rotating around them like that. Just floating dildos going around, all sorts of like fucking huge wings that are flapping about with the eraser footprints. I'm talking about Path of Exile, right? They hit this really nice spot that aesthetically is honestly one of my favorite. It's not cartoony either, like Warcraft, where you kind of like, or Diablo 3-esque. It's kind of real, but...
No, it's grounded. Like you could see most of the people, like if you go under a bridge in Austin, Texas, you'll find the Necromancer. If you go to Mr. Olympia, you'll find the Barbarian. If you go to a craft beer convention, you'll find the Druid. If you go to like some sort of bar or like some dancing bar with like male strippers, you'll find the Rogue. Which one am I missing out on? I think that's close enough, right?
Dark and gritty, and honestly, it's my favorite aesthetic. Yeah, you call me a vegan,
Sork?
whatever.
If you go outside 7-Eleven and there's a guy that's arguing about cigarettes with somebody else, you'll find the Sork.
I love it. All right, and they absolutely did not miss.
Yeah, the Sork is the one watching the road.
In my opinion, the only thing that would even come close to the aesthetic of this game would be something like Warhammer 40k, and I get the same energy. When you look at a really cool Warhammer 40k figurine, and you're like, God damn, look how well that's painted. Look how cool he looks. Mm-hmm. And you're looking around, and you're like, holy fuck. Like, it just feels precious to even hold and even look at. And you kind of get that vibe just looking at your character in the game. Like, you could,
My guy looks
if
so
you could get that as a model, you want to put that on your shelf.
So
That's how cool it looks. The sound design, the atmospheric sounds as you're going around, outside of a little bit of jank going through zones and stuff, is pretty damn good as well. So, it's very immersive. Adds to like the dark, gritty kind of tone. I would, though, be a little bit critical. Boss fight music, bro. For Act 1, mid. Fucking mid.
I didn't even know it was happening. I didn't even know there was boss fight music. I just learned that there was boss fight music right now. At this exact moment.
All right. I didn't even know. Even the final boss fight for Act 1, I don't want to spoil everything, but goddamn. That sound, did it even have a soundtrack? It was so unmemorable.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Just question mark. Hopefully that's some shit that they've just got.
I will say that, like, you compare that to Leoric. I would say Leoric was a lot better. Or compare... No. To Butcher. Compare it to Butcher. Because Butcher was the last boss in Act 1. Butcher was way better.
Add in, and it's just a beta thing. And I'll also add in, when it comes to like the Return to Darkness, maybe I'm a sick fuck. Maybe I'm a little bit too morbid. But in D1 and D2, they got dead, naked people. Okay? And I don't know what it is about that. You're like, God damn, they're dead on a pike. And she's naked.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's something like, ugh. That... And for whatever reason, D4, they're going to show me super, ultra high fidelity. Blood everywhere. Guts. Literal torture scene. They're stuck in a fucking device where they've clearly been tortured. But they just don't show the naked people. Why don't they? Because I feel like that would really take it to the next level of...
I think it would, too. I think you should always be willing to take it to the next level. Absolutely.
Holy shit. But other than that, honestly, dude, graphics and aesthetics, D4, you can't really... Bro, I don't think anyone even comes close to that shit. 10 out of 10.
There it is. Cutscenes and lore. Here we go.
All right.
A minute. I'll be right back. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. And, I totally agree with that. 100%. Absolutely. Like, the design of the game and everything, and the graphics, I think, are exactly what I had expected. Like, looking at Diablo 4, that is exactly what I would want to see. All right, let's go. Let's start it.
You can't really... Bro, I don't think anyone even comes close to that shit. 10 out of 10. All right. Now let's talk about the lore and the cutscenes. Now, you have to take into account that I'm not a lore/cutscene Andy. Sure. If I'm putting more than 1,000 hours into a game, it's not because I just really want to play the story over and over again. But 100% a good cinematic, for example, the by 3 they come, that shit can get you hyped for a game. And
it was
that's
good.
Blizzard aren't missing. The cinematics, like that by 3 they come one, is top notch. Has given me the chills. I've watched it 3 times now. Still fucking amazing. The new one where they have Lilith fighting an Arius.
This one was probably the coolest one in my opinion.
Again, really impressive, really crazy stuff. But hey, what does it do? It maybe gives me a little bit of immersion and gets me a bit hyped for the game. They now have in-game character-specific cinematics where your character is literally inserted into like a cutscene itself.
Yeah,
that's a really well done cutscene. It's like
it doesn't look like, because like with a lot of games where you have the in-game cutscenes and the in-game cutscenes aren't very good. It's just like basically the game, but your UI is gone. This is really nice.
Like in-game real time. Yeah. But they have lots of, facial expressions and emotion, and it really is cool.
Lots
and honestly, the thing where it puts your character in there, providing you haven't got a really stupid-looking character, it increases the level of immersion.
It's funny.
The story, again, I'm not a big story guy, but I'm following along with the current, Act 1 story, and it's pretty interesting. They give you a bit of information about a few of the characters, and they're really kind of developing the characters. And, they're posing a lot of questions.
Yeah, sure. Good.
I don't want to do any spoilers, but, you want to find out, like, what's going on with Lilith. Like, what is she even a good guy or a bad guy? What's even happening there? I mean, she probably may be bad, but...
Yeah, she's bad.
I don't know. She's kind of getting some mommy energy from her, you know what I'm saying? The voice acting. People have been criticizing it a lot and saying, oh, everyone sounds like they're from, like, Russia or somewhere from Eastern Europe.
Yeah, no shit, because that's the whole area. Because they're going to have an area of people. Guess what? A bunch of snow people sound like Eastern Europeans. What a fucking surprise. I wonder how that happened. No fucking shit.
Europe, and they think it's bad.
It's in one zone.
Speaking as a Kiwi, whatever, dude, I think that the accents, they sound like they're all supposed to be from a particular region.
Yeah.
And they sound like they're supposed to be foreign. I don't think they're necessarily bad by any means. And of course they're going to sound like they have a regional dialect. Why wouldn't they all sound kind of the similar,
It's like all the trolls in WoW sound the same. Yeah, no shit.
All in this one zone. I fully expect when we go to the other zones,
they're going to sound
we'll have different accents and different voice actors. And not to mention, the voice acting of some of the main characters is really good. Specifically, hey, who's voice acting Lilith? Because, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I agree. Monetization.
Okay, now let's talk about something that's a tad more divisive. Monetization and Diablo 4. Obviously, this game is a game made by Blizzard Entertainment.
Yeah.
Who also just recently released a game called Diablo Immortal.
That's a good one. That was a good
phone game that I played. And let me tell you, it had some of the most predatory and aggressive monetization I've ever seen in any game ever in my entire life. I mean, bro, the game was literally worse than straight up gambling. It was like gambling.
Well, at least in gambling, there's a chance you can win. In Diablo Immortal, you always lose.
Except you can't even win.
Yep.
It's rigged against you. And if you do finally win,
There it is. $25,000. And by the way, this is New Zealand money, so like in real money, it's like probably only $20,000, but it's still $20,000 in order to get his 5-star Echoing Shade.
Fucking poor. Okay. Now, Diablo 4 is not Diablo Immortal, obviously.
Yes.
And they've said that
it's not the same.
Diablo 4 is going to be, quote-unquote, anchored around cosmetics.
Yes.
Which is kind of a little bit scary in itself, the fact that they haven't outright said, hey, guess what, guys? This game will never be pay to win ever. We're not going to make it better.
I don't know if they can ever say, like, I would never say ever because there's just no reason to say that. However, they have stated multiple times in plain English that it will not be pay to win. And I feel like if people are not willing to accept what they're saying and they're like, yeah, but they're lying though. Like, but yeah, but then they're going to do it. Yeah, but then they're going to do it, but they're going to do it after that. But no. I mean, no, it's probably not though. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but no. Like, at a certain point, you've got to think that maybe these people are they've already made up their mind. Diablo 4 is going to be pay to win in their mind, and it's only a matter of when. You're never going to be able to tell them something that's going to make them think, oh, no, it won't be. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to rethink my opinion. That's not going to happen.
They're not saying that. They're doing this diplomacy Andy thing where they will literally put themselves in a position where, you know what, fucking if later on down the track they feel like going and changing their mind and then just making the game pay to win as fuck.
Yeah.
They could, which honestly, it's
of course they could do that, but like, how's that a bad thing? If they make the game pay to win later, I just stop playing the game. Like, that's the way live service games are. There have been many times where games have come out and they've been good for a while and then they were bad. Like, that's just how things go. Like, whether it's a new patch, a new expansion, or some other fucking monetization. Yeah, you just move on.
Scares me. But for the moment, they've been repeatedly saying that many times over, it's anchored around cosmetics.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's going to be cosmetics. Don't worry, it'll be fine. So I'm going to take them for their word. And like currently, the game's not pay to win.
It's not.
Now, the way they're monetizing the game as well, where you had to buy the game.
Yes.
Then you also are going to have the option to opt into battle passes, which will be cosmetic only. For the bought stuff of the battle pass, there will be power in the battle pass, but that'll be free. You know.
Oh, so there is power in the battle pass. Then okay, so then that means it's pay to win. Okay, yes. See, Quin contradicting himself again. Yeah, I mean, come on.
It's free, right? Because what they're doing is they're training you like a dog to go to this interface.
Power? Yeah, but it's in the battle pass
where they're going to show you your free thing that you collect, and then there'll be like a swipe here to unlock your, look how much stuff you've unlocked that you could just get just by swiping your card, right? Which, okay, they've got battle passes, and then you also purchase the expansion itself.
Yeah.
Which is I mean, at least they're not making us pay a subscription fee as well, and then selling us.
I mean, hey, right now, that's what yeah. I mean, hey, they're not doing that right now.
Gold, right? Because that would be insane.
It sure would be.
But
that'd be disgusting.
What I'm worried about is is the battle pass money that we're gonna buy the game? Okay.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna buy the expansions. Okay. Whenever they're making content for the game, are they going to save all the good shit and then put that into the expansion box and then just give us like some shitty cosmetics and some mid-season shit? Is the battle pass money actually, are they going to have a separate development team that's developing stuff for the seasons, for the people who are spending money on the battle passes to support the game? So then, they're giving us all this extra content, and then we also buy the expansion, and we get even more content,
I mean, we know what is going to be.
Classes, all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
Or is this just Blizzard just trying to extract as much money as humanly possible out of us? I mean, don't get me wrong. I am all for a system where the game I am playing, the live service game I'm playing, is earning money. And then because they're earning money, they're like, oh yeah, this is a good investment. Let's keep adding features to this game so people...
Here's my viewpoint on this, is that I don't really give a fuck. All of the PoE microtransactions are ridiculously fucking expensive. The stash tabs are annoying, but you only have to buy them once. They have loot boxes in them. I don't really care, though. Because whenever I play the game, the monetization model of the game doesn't affect my gameplay. That is what really matters to me, is... does the monetization model of this game affect my gameplay? And as long as that doesn't happen with Diablo 4, that's the only thing that matters. PoE's free. That doesn't... What does that have to do with it? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you have to pay $50 for PoE, I would still have the same viewpoint. Yeah, I'm talking about, like, the playability of the game. Because as long as I'm able to play the game and the monetization doesn't fuck the game up, then I'm not going to care. It's literally that simple. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Getting the game matters, though? Bro, if I'm going to be honest, okay? If you're not able to buy a $70 fucking game and have the, if this is a mass, and if you, this is if you live in like the US or like a good country in the EU, if this is like a fucking South American person listening to this, it's not about you. If you have $70 and spending this money is a big deal for you, and it is that big of a fucking deal that you, like, if they add microtransactions, you feel like you're not getting your fucking money's worth, you need to reevaluate your fucking life. Because the problem is not microtransactions in video games, it is the trajectory of your fucking career. Because you need to fucking reorient your life, you need to get your shit together, and stop fucking worrying about this. This is insane. Absolutely fucking insane. Most people will probably get 70 hours worth of gameplay out of Diablo 4 over the first year that they buy it. I think that if you value your entertainment at $1 an hour, I think that Diablo 4 will probably be worth it for a lot of people that are fans of ARPGs. Absolutely. But don't go and fucking tell me that, oh, wow, it's $70. Like, guess what? To put in a game from 1998 into an inflation calculator, and you're going to see that they were basically $70 back then too, if you adjust for inflation. It's always been expensive to buy these games. That's just how it is. And you just do it yourself. I don't want to prove it to you. Go do it on your own. More, yes, probably more. Yes, reevaluate your fucking life. Having optional cosmetic microtransactions in the game, this is not going to affect your gameplay. There is a level in which it will, of course. But that doesn't really seem like it's happening. It's crazy.
Keep giving us money, so then, it creates a loop of like, we give you money because we're happy with the game, they give us content back, and then, it keeps going like this.
People are crazy.
And not just some bullshit they add into the game to try extract all our money. Because you say, well, who cares of the battle pass, right? It's it's only cosmetics.
Yeah, who cares?
Well, that's detrimental to the game, right? In my opinion.
Oh yeah, it would be better if the cosmetics were in the game because it would give you more things to work towards. But it's just in terms of the amount of people that are going to play the game, the amount more people that are going to play the game if that cosmetic is obtainable in game is not it is negligible. There's not that many more people that are going to play the game just because every single cosmetic is earnable. So if you're trying to min-max the game, you're going to make some cosmetics earnable, some cosmetics buyable, because that's what's going to make the most money. That's just how it is.
If you can get a mount from a store or a battle pass or whatever. Oh, there is also going to be a store, by the way. I forgot to mention that. There will literally also be a store in the game where you can buy shit. Which again, I'm trying to cope. I'm like surfing the copium and the hopium. Like, oh yeah, they're going to use that store to fund content creation for the game, right? So they're going to be making more shit, right? But there's a massive downside there, right? So every time they add some shit into the store, they add like a really cool looking mount in the store that you buy. In the game. That is now just devalued every mount cosmetic in the game by some amount. It's quantifiable.
I would say that personally, whenever I see an item that's from the store, I automatically, it's like it's invisible to me. Like I see somebody with a store item and like it just could be a default mount to me. It's like they don't even count.
I don't know how much, but you just basically make all cosmetics in the game lose a bit of value. And you got to hope that they're using this money that they're trading in, because they're trading in value in their game. Like literally, they're reducing the fun of a cosmetic hunt for money. So you got to just hope that they're then using that money to then create stuff in the game.
Yeah, imagine that.
Ultimately, I'm not poor, so I don't really care too much.
I think that if you're going to put 200 plus hours into this game, be honest with yourself. If you're going to put 200 plus hours into this game and you can't pay $70 for it, you need to reevaluate your life. That's the truth. you really need to reevaluate your fucking life. I was in this exact same position 10 years ago, and I reevaluated my life. Do yourself a favor and do the same thing.
About, like, the shit, all I care about mainly is that, hey, is the game going to be pay to win? As long as it's not pay to win, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
I can totally see how, you know, if you don't have as much money to spend, I am memeing, but like, yeah, whatever. If you don't have as much money to spend, it might be a little bit annoying to have to buy the game, buy the expansion, and then maybe you're going to miss out on the battle passes, and then maybe your friends have some cosmetics. But bro, who cares, bro? Some guy's walking around with this pay piggy armor. I mean, bro,
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
fuck that shit. It's just cosmetics. Hey, the point remains, as long as the game doesn't go pay to win, I think I'm okay with that. But still,
I think that it really just depends on a seasonal basis. Like, if I go back and I play the game and I don't really like it, I don't feel like the season is that much newer or that transformative or anything like that, then I just don't play the season. I still own the game, so I can just come back next time and play it then. Yeah, it's not complicated. I mean, I really don't think about it a whole lot. You getting happy with streamers or stink garbage IRL? Bro, every dumb message you type in my chat is not going to improve your life. After you press enter, you're still a loser. It didn't change. Maybe make another account, and maybe if you just keep posting negative messages in my chat, maybe one day you won't be a loser.
this whole I'm scared. I'm a little bit scared. I think when there is a reality where they're like, you know what? We're not earning enough money from D4. You know how we've been talking about anchoring our shit? Let's actually just anchor our shit to some pay to win so we can extract more money out of these little piggies. And then they just go ahead and just trade in the rest of whatever's remaining with the Blizzard brand for as much money as possible, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make Diablo 4 pay to win because it would just make the company look really, really bad. Now, do they care about that? I think that I do feel like Diablo Immortal and Dragonflight put together and Shadowlands and like all of the sexual harassment, I think that has legitimately damaged the company to the point now where they can take a game that they used to charge money for, give it out for free, and remove loot boxes, and everybody says how bad they are. Okay? Like, I absolutely think that there is a cost for that.
Now let's talk about the user interface. Holy shit. What the fuck happened?
The reception of Dragonflight, sorry.
If Diablo 4's aesthetics and graphics are a 10 out of 10, like supermodels, super pretty, ultra nice, the UI is a fucking wart transplanted on top of a nose.
I don't think the UI is that bad. Like, I mean, there are things that are bad about the UI. I'm not saying the UI is good. I think there are a lot of improvements that can be made, but I am not. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal, personally. Like, I just don't give a shit that much.
It is just disgusting.
Yeah, there are improvements that I would make for sure.
When I opened my character screen, I for a second there, I thought, what? Whoa. Did someone just install Diablo Immortal onto my computer?
Okay, yeah.
Is Raid Shadow Legends booted up in the background? What just happened? Why is 1/3 of my screen covered in just useless shit information that I don't care about with the ultra bright colors and some sort of a console layout designed to be controlled with, a controller, right? And the answer is because it was designed for consoles, right? Diablo 4 is a console game that they made for consoles, and the entire user interface is made for consoles, and they've got these huge elements which you can navigate around with, a controller. And that's...
yeah, I think that's good. I'd rather have a game be playable on console than have it, give it a better... I think that you can make the UI for the game better without removing its playability on console, though. It can definitely be improved, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal either way. I disagree with this argument. People are using consoles as a reason for shit UX. Well, no, I do think that having like a very ornate and complex UI is something that will make it harder to, it will hurt readability on a console more because the way that you navigate between different buttons. So yes, I do think the console argument exists, but I still think they can improve it even then.
It's how it's designed. Like, and then they've got that shit.
What's wrong with it?
And then
I feel like if Diablo Immortal didn't come out, people wouldn't have as much of a problem with the UI. I think that a lot of people's problems with the UI is because Diablo Immortal looks the same.
they just transplanted it onto a PC, and the net result is you get this really weird like juxtaposition between this awesome, gritty, dark, cool universe with this user interface that it just doesn't mesh well at all. Like there's small little things. Like I want to open up my clan to see who's online in my clan, right, or something. I expect to see like a small window up here with, some columns and rows with the various characters, their class, their level, all that shit, and I can just see everyone's online and what's going on. Maybe a little scroll bar that I can scroll down, whatever. Okay, not like a full screen blow up. One clan member takes up 40% of my screen. Okay, I'm being hyperbolic here. I can see 3 total clan members, and I've got to like go down tile, down tile, down tile. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of whenever Windows tried to like get rid of the start bar and put everything to like some grid format.
Oh,
it just feels
Windows
like that's
8.
the whole game.
Yeah.
Even like doing various actions in the game, like leaving a dungeon or something, you have to bring up this radial wheel, which is designed for a controller to select things instead of just.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think I personally don't think that's a big deal. Like, I don't know. It's just not a big deal to me. Like for other people, maybe it's a point of contention. There are things I would want to see improved with the UI. I'm not saying the UI is good. I'm not saying it's perfect. I think it is passable. It is functional, and I don't really care.
Just make a fucking user interface for PC gamers. Obviously, this is coming from the perspective of a PC gamer elitist.
Yeah, sure.
Some console games are alright, but generally speaking, PC is just way better. Give us a proper UI. Give us like action bars, like a second action bar where we can put on those various features, not some radial wheel. Let us
be able to keybind them or something.
Hide elements. I mean, bro, when I open my character screen, okay, I'm just sounding like I'm bitching right now, but like, goddamn, what the fuck? Why are you showing me like attack and defense with some life and some random attributes that I don't care? Look, how come to see the stats that I actually want to see, I have to open up a side menu, then go...
That's dumb. Like, I don't want to open it up and see my plants. I want to open it up and see my basic attacks and like all my basic stats here. And those are little things that I would want to see improved. Absolutely.
From my craft materials
Plants
to like
should
open
not
up
be
another
the
menu
default.
to then scroll down past some other shit to then start actually seeing the stats that I want to see. Again, it's because they're designing it for a console, and on top of that, I think they're trying to keep it simple because they don't want to overwhelm people. Because if people like open up a character screen, I guess, and they see a lot of numbers and shit, they're like, "Oh my god, numbers are scary." Whoa,
this is too hard.
My mind might explode if I see too many statistics.
Yeah.
Which I guess they're trying to hide and keep it simple. So it's not as intimidating. Again, because I guess I'm a hardcore gamer, I don't give a fuck about that shit. Hey, just go ahead, Blizzard. Just redo the whole UI for computers. Okay, come on. It
would be nice if they had a more PC-centric UI, but I don't think the UI will affect my enjoyment of the game. Like, I'm not going to see the UI and the UI isn't good, and I'm like, oh, I don't like the game now. It's not that bad. It's fine, in my opinion. It is fine. It's not great, but it's fine.
Just redo it. Other small things, like, I guess for console gamers, they want to see their map, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you bring the map up, It's like a full screen map, full color,
This
very
is- I
minimal
agree with him on
transparency.
this.
When you
Yes.
look at the map at the top right, it's 0 opacity. I haven't seen any opacity options. Just this block up the top right of your screen. Like, why can't I turn off elements of that map and have a transparent version? So I'm sitting in
Yeah, like having a tab map, the same as you do in PoE. You can just like tab, and like Lost Ark has this too, and you don't have to go to like a full map screen. Yes, this would be an improvement on the game, and there's no reason not to add it. Like same as Diablo 2. Yes, I mean, like why are we not implementing the feature that existed in the year 2000 or something like that? Why are we going back in time? It worked then, it still works.
front of my $10,000 computer with my, monitor in front of me. I want to just have like an opaque map at the top right, so I can see monsters behind my map whilst also knowing where I'm going. Options like having a little the ability to turn on an overhead health bar
Yes.
of like I want to see why
This should absolutely exist. The reason why is that I don't want to, like, it's like an eye tracker thing, where, like, I don't, like, here's the screen, right? Let's just say this is the screen. I don't want to have to go from here to here looking back and forth. I want all of the useful visual information to be as condensed as possible, because it just improves my experience as a player. And if I had a green health bar over my head, I would enjoy that more than if I didn't. It's that simple.
life and my resources. So, like, if I'm a rogue, I want to see like a little green sliver above my character's head, with another sliver to show me my energy and maybe some comma points, right? Some basic stuff like that, which would be good for computer gamers. Obviously, as a console,
Someone says less information is better. Great. Then just turn it off. Okay. Yeah, then just turn it off. I don't want an overlay map. I always have it up and it takes away from the graphics. I want to look at the action, not the map. So you don't want an overlay map because you'll use it?
gamer, if you're like sitting back at the TV trying to see a little green bar, it's not going to be a big. Which is again why I think they didn't include it.
It
Little
should just
things
be an
like
option.
it would be awesome instead of having the the console dash key.
It's
the
the
whole
same thing as like underneath the skeletons. Like for example, this is the skeleton, right? There should be like a circle underneath the skeleton. And there should be different effects that indicate different effects on the skeleton. So, like, if they're buffed up by the 20% in power from the priest, there should be, like, blue shit underneath them. The same as, like, if the skeletons have haste and PoE, it's green. Or if they have, like, fucking something else, it's, like, red or something like auras. You should not have to, again, any time that the player has to go from the middle of the screen down to the bars down here to see what's active and what's not, I think that's a bad experience. I think that everything should be visible in the middle of the screen if the player chooses for it to look that way. It's just better.
elevate key, just
Same
let us
debuffs,
drag
yeah.
that shit onto our bar,
Like,
right?
I hate
have
this.
it.
I fucking hate this new idea that certain games have where let's not show you what's going on in the game. Yeah, no, you can't look at debuffs. No, you can't see what that is. I fucking hate that. I think that it should be off by default, but you should be able to turn it on.
Like a skill, and then it just
So fucking
gives it
stupid.
it gives it an additional skill slot, stuff like that, just basic PC gamer stuff. Also the full screen pop-ups, bruh. It randomly comes up during the beta, like pre-purchased Diablo now.
It doesn't actually randomly come up. It only comes up 2 times. It only comes up right after you talk to the guy and he rides off, and then it also comes up whenever you actually finish Act 1. It only comes up 2 times. Was it 3? I don't remember the 3rd time.
Just for these guys, I guess, who bought double downs to then purchase the game. I'm really worried. Like, am I going to log into D4 and it's going to be a full screen ad? Battle Pass sale 90% off. Like, is that?
Yeah, that's probably going to be there. Yep. And then whenever the expansion comes out, there's going to probably be a picture of Lilith with like a chicken bucket on her head holding a triple down, and it's like, guess what? Guess what you need to play the beta, guys?
That what is this going to be happening? Because that's another element of the user interface that honestly scares me. The fact that you guys have the ability to push these full screen ads whenever I log into my game. Monarch ass. Overall, UI, I'm going to rate that shit at a 2 out of 10. I'll give it, it's not the, 2 out of 10. Itemization in Diablo 4. Okay.
Here we go.
Upon logging into the D4 beta, honestly, my expectations were low. So, you know what? I was pleasantly surprised to actually look at my weapon and then see on the weapon description, hey, it's got an attack speed. You know, that's nice. It's got an attack range. Yeah, oh, that's cool. Good. And, you know, there's an affix there. Cool. Right? You know, it wasn't just attack and defense. Although, attack and defense absolutely is still in the game, and all they did was, you know, just rename it from attack to attack power and defense to armor. I mean, it's literally just armor is
well, that's the way it's always been. I mean, yeah, if things do more damage and they have armor, I think that's fine. I don't know. I think that's a big deal. It seems fine to me. It's like, I wear a helmet, I want to know how many armor is the helmet. If I wear a helmet, I want to know how many strength does the helmet give me. Yep.
Trojan horse containing defense. It's just generic damage reduction. They made up some RP story about defense. You know, we wanted armor to randomly mitigate like magic because we felt like it was unfair, and we're just trying to protect you. Bro, it's just defense. Okay, Blizzard, stop with this fake news story. Yes, it's attack and defense. It is what it is. But you know what? Hey, I logged in. I saw some damage range. Not wanting to immediately just close the game. So I'm continuing. You know, I'm getting items drop on the ground. Up arrow, I equip it. Up arrow, equip it. A few hours later, still...
Up arrow, you equip it, you do less damage. Up arrow, equip it, less damage. Up arrow, equip it, your build sucks now. Yeah.
Just kind of like seeing up arrows. I'm equipping it. Getting kind of bored. Not really even looking at items at this point. Like, there's just item power, which just arbitrarily makes items better. Like, on average, when they have higher item power from killing higher level monsters. So you just, generally speaking, if you haven't looted a pair of boots in like 5 levels, when you drop another pair of boots, it's just a better version. Now, at the point where rare started dropping, well, they're not really rare once you get into the game, you start doing dungeons, you start getting items that have plus to skills in them, which it says like +1 to Hydra. And then once you equip the Hydra item, guess what? Your Hydra skill goes up by a level, and now your Hydra does 10% more damage. And you're like, hey, this has got a plus to skill that I'm using on my character. This is good for me, and you equip it. And honestly, that feels good. Now... Honestly,
I think it does. I feel like that's great. However, I do think that with that, there comes a lot of traps because sometimes the up arrows don't account for every single one of those interactions, so they can end up being a trap. It says, oh, put this on. It's got an up arrow, but it's actually not.
That's basically the only affix that I can feel like that I was wrong. Like, wow, that feels good.
D3 didn't have that. At least I don't remember that.
Well, almost all the other affixes in the game, I mean, I don't know them all off my heart, but it's like increased damage to enemies that are far away, increased damage to enemies that are close, increased damage to healthy enemies, increased damage. You get the idea. It's just lots of kind of generic damage increases that are conditional and, you know, generic, but to the point where you maybe have, like, if you're playing a ranged character, you might have a few different affixes than the guy someone playing melee. Obviously, you're looking for pluses skills and all that stuff, but
I will tell you that, like, just giving you more plus damage and having different types of plus damage apply to you and not, it is kind of boring. It's a good starting point, but it's not super compelling.
Ultimately, it was coming down to get an item that has the skills that you're using on it, that's got high item power with decent rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really bored of the itemization really fast. And my feedback would be is make more affixes that are like the plus to skills. Yeah. AKA things that work specifically things with your build that are obviously good for your build. For example, a roll that said fire damage. Increase fire damage, right? So you're playing a Hydra build, and you want fire damage and damage over time. Let's say there's an affix that just said fire damage is increased by 20%. Damage over time with fire skills increased, or whatever. Okay, and then you find an item that drops with 3 stats that work perfectly with your build.
Big dick.
Hey, now you're going to be like, wow, that's good for me. Or say, you find another item that drops. And
I actually don't like the close and distant modifiers. I find them to be annoying. Because in almost every circumstance, I'm going to be close to the enemy. Because I'm like fucking clearing, So I don't like that. It's annoying to me.
As affixes that are really good, but for another build, then you're like, wow, this might actually compel me to log in and play another build. And I feel like what I guess I'm asking for is just the generic affixes in general. They should just scrap half that shit, like half that, whatever Destiny 2 console affix, whatever the fuck it is, like the healthy, and just put in some stuff that's more specific and more obviously good for other builds.
Yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't, I'm not saying complicated, crazy shit. Like Diablo 3, dude, if you found a pair of gloves that roll with crit damage and cooldown, and then you're like, damn, that's a really good item.
Oh, yeah.
I could even roll the dexterity off the area damage, now I got a quad pick the pair of gloves. You're like, that's a little bit exciting,
It is.
You get a cool item. And don't get me wrong, maybe the more I interact with these affixes and maybe higher levels, there's new shit that's more compelling, and maybe I'm just not playing. I just haven't really, like, investigated to see, oh wow, there's actually massive differences, but from what I've seen, they're pretty generic. If you have a build that's got...
They're not, I think that being generic is really the criticism. Is they are generic, and I think they are boring.
Gear for a wizard, from attacking far away or whatever, you're generally going to be able to unspec out of whatever you're playing currently and just spec into something completely different, and all that gear still works. Which then, to me, is just homogenous, and it's like, what do you even... Like, come on. Legendary affixes.
Okay.
Some of the legendary affixes I really like. These ones they're generic and they can synergize with your build. Like, for example, the one that says when you hit an elite for the first time in 30 seconds, gives you a barrier. And this could synergize with the build that's scaling barriers and wants good barrier uptime, for example.
Big dick barriers.
But then a lot of the legendary affixes felt awful. And these ones, or the ones I'm about to talk about, are the ones that were just mandatory damage increases for whatever skill you're using. An example would be you're playing a Hydra build. There's a affix that says +1 Hydras. It literally just doubles your Hydra damage output. Like, you're playing a Hydra build. Am I going to use those gloves? Yeah, you're going to use...
I feel like you're always going to have this to an extent where you have legendary affixes that are pretty much required. Like, this is just always how I think a lot of builds go. And I think that in PoE, it kind of is the same way with this too, but it's not as bad because of how customizable rares are.
Those gloves. Okay, you're going to equip this item because you're an idiot if you don't. And guess what?
PoE doesn't have this, not at all. No, not even close in PoE. Well, the reason why it's not even close is because there are so many different things that can roll differently in rare items that the legendary items will never really be the full end game, minus like a handful of them that offer some sort of unique utility. But other than that, I think that having legendary items that are good, that everybody is pretty much going to use, it's very hard to avoid that without making insanely complex itemization to counteract that. So I don't think that they're going to be able to solve this problem. And all BS, BIS unique items and PoE. I mean, to an extent. You said it, unique utility, not 300% mandatory damage. It's crafting and PoE. PoE basically has nothing that goes to a specific skill being the big thing. Mageblood is not mandatory for any build, but it makes 90% of builds better, for example. Yeah, exactly. And so there are uniques that are like really, really, really fucking good for certain builds, or they're good for all builds based off of what they are. And as I said, if you want to make rare items as good as these different types of uniques, you have to make rares probably really, really complex. Like PoE has very complex rares. Or you make legendaries boring. So I don't know what the right option is. I think that probably what I would like to see them do is start scaling a little bit more complexity with rare items after like the first couple of seasons and see how players respond to it. Mageblood doesn't say X skill does 500% more damage. I mean, no, of course not. And that's why PoE isn't as accessible as Diablo 4. Like, you're looking at it from the perspective of somebody who plays video games like this all of the time. The truth is that Diablo 4 isn't being made for an audience of people that are going to look up and do a math calculation of what the effective DPS of something is. The moment that you have to go to like another website to figure out like, okay, what is this percentage increase? How does this work exactly? That's going to make things a lot harder. Yeah, it has nothing to do. Yeah, Diablo 4 is not trying to be super complex where you have to compare a bunch of different items. Sometimes there are going to be items that are just very good. I don't know what else to say. It makes no sense for there to be a duration limiter to exist for a cast that has no CD, and casting a new Hydra completely counters its functionality. If they changed it to have the Hydra have a CD for the extra Hydra, that would make more sense. Yeah, sure, they could change the way it works. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Like, it's not about the specific legendary. I'm just saying that having certain legendaries that are really, really good, I don't think is a problem. I don't. And the reason why it's not a problem is that it makes the game more accessible for people that don't have a very high understanding of it. And I understand that this isn't going to be an argument that people want to hear. But the truth is that nobody wants to play a fucking game. Not nobody, but a lot of the people that are, they heard about Diablo 4 from a commercial on TV. These people don't want to go and get an item and then it has like some percentage modifier that doesn't make a very easily to understand comparison with what they currently have. It's hard to understand. That's why PoE build guides are 30 minutes of a spreadsheet. They don't want that. That's not the goal. So you can't say the itemization's bad, because if you make it good in this context, you're going to have spreadsheets. And they don't want it. To make the game die even sooner, accessible equals dumbass friendly, meaning less variety, less fun. I think that there's obviously a middle ground. So World of Warcraft was that middle ground. EverQuest and like a lot of MMOs that came before that were way less accessible and way more complex. But World of Warcraft wasn't, and it was way more successful because of that. So I don't think that making the argument that anything that makes something more accessible makes it bad, I don't think that's true. It's silly.
The ability itself is balanced around these items existing. So you just literally, it's just like it's like a set bonus that's not a set bonus. Which just feels bad because it doesn't feel like you're making a build, you're just doing what the devs intended.
Yeah. Well, that's clearly what they're doing. It's a more on-rails experience. I understand that people might not like that, but that's what the goal is. Like, I'm sorry, but like that's clearly what their goal is with Diablo 4. I don't understand why people are mauling about this. It's just fucking common sense. Argument seems backwards. Game can be easy and well balanced. You're pretending like balance is harder with less complexity. The opposite is true. Balance is harder with less complexity. The opposite is true. Well, yeah, that's why they have very obvious defining items that are the best items. That's clearly why. So people are mad they won't make the game complex for a small percentage of gamers that want to no-life the game and play for 5 years instead of making the game accessible to people who have never tried ARPG. Yes, and that's the smart thing that they should do. Because the truth is that PoE will always be a step ahead of Diablo 4. They will always be ahead. Because they are a smaller studio, they have a much more defined audience, they are more in tune with their audience, they're more agile, they can develop faster, and they will always be ahead of them in terms of catering to the hardcore ARPG players. So if Blizzard tries to go into that realm, they will lose. And that's fine. But that doesn't mean that they can't make an ARPG that is more simple, and I think that that's their goal. Again, complex system doesn't equal complex gameplay. PoE 2 and Diablo 4 will play mostly the same at the end of the day. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, neither of us can really know that. People really not understanding that the complex the game is, the less players it will have. Well, I think that a lot of people, again, Diablo 4 is being made for a casual audience. A casual audience is somebody who will see an item that gives you double Hydra and be like, oh, that's fucking awesome. It's that simple. People don't like that Diablo 4 dictates your build via these OP items rather than yourself, or nothing wrong with that opinion, in my opinion, because it's more boring. Yeah, I think that I definitely think that they should try to avoid having items that are just so overpowered and so ridiculously broken that you have to build around them. But I think that having 1 or 2 items like that isn't a very big deal. And the truth is, for a more casual ARPG, that's probably a better decision. It's probably a better decision to have a couple of obvious good items that you go with. It is.
Better design would be something like
+1
to summoned units, so it would work for anything else. I don't know if there are any more summon unit skills, but like say in the future they add in a new thing, a new totem skill, right, which is a summon unit. Oh, guess what? This summoning thing now works. You know, they don't have to create a whole new set of legendaries for that specific new skill. There's all these legendaries that will be like a lot of them. Another example, Whirlwind. There was a Whirlwind legendary that just said, oh, you just get more crit chance. No, not even more crit. It just scales your flat crit up to literally 80% more crit. So you're critting 80% of the time, 0 investment while using Whirlwind. I mean, bro, who's not using that when playing Whirlwind? Why
pretty much nobody.
Is that legendary not saying, oh, every second that you channel skills, you gain base crit, and then this just works for everything? And say they add in more channeling skills in the future, now you've got more options. And you're effectively making a build, and the dev.
I think they're just doing that because it's more simple to just say Whirlwind. I feel like a lot of these concerns about itemization are. I think that they don't understand the goal of the itemization. The goal of the itemization is to appeal to more casual players. That's the simple truth. They want to have a simple, easy to understand itemization. I get Whirlwind, Whirlwind does more crits. Boom. This is not a game that's being designed to be played for 1,000 hours per season. That's just not what they're doing.
Telling you, oh, just you're playing this build, then equip the items that have that thing on it. Now, I'm less offended by things like, let's say, it's like non-damage, so utility-based things where it augments an ability to function differently. That's less offensive to me. But even then, if it's possible, for example, there was one that said Whirlwind periodically sucks enemies towards you. That's not as offensive to me.
Ridiculously fucking overpowered. It is so good. Oh my god. If you don't have that one, you are an idiot.
Because, you could theoretically not use that. But still, you could, again...
I would even argue that I think the suck is better than 80% crit. I think it is fucking ridiculously good. It is so insanely good. Because not only... You've got to remember, the suck... No, think about this. It also interrupts actions. So there's a lot of enemy actions, especially long wind-up attacks, that the cool... Think about it like this, right? Like, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but we're going to do it anyway. So the suck takes this long, right? But the enemy attack takes this long. So there will never be a time, or sorry, let me actually do that again. So this is the time frame that the enemy attacks are, and the suck will occur at least once inside of the animation, which means that you effectively never have to deal with that attack if you have that legendary on, because the legendary will CC them at a rate that is faster than the animation speed. It's just infinitely fucking better. And not only that, but it also CCs them, so it allows you to scale with CC damage. It's a
change that design
suck,
to be
yes.
when you're channeling.
It's insane.
Periodically, you suck things towards you, so then it
Yes.
basically opens up many combinations, and then it also simultaneously future-proofs your game. So that means when you add a new ability in the future, because I'm assuming you're going to do that, right, Blizzard?
Probably not.
You're going to add more abilities in,
No.
right?
No. No.
Then you've already got a plethora of choices, and people will be like, "Oh, which legendary am I going to try first?" Not, "Oh, let me just go equip the 5 legendaries that have the same skill name on those things, and play the build, the set bonus that you've made. That's not a set bonus." Item bases. So there are some items that have so there'll be a pair of boots. They're all called boots, and you might have a pair of boots that says increases evade, cooldown recovery, and another one that says gives you an extra evade check.
They're like implicits, like in PoE. Yeah, okay.
You have like various items that increase your health potion or make your health potion do stuff differently.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's definitely an opportunity there to actually make more different item bases that do different things depending on what you're trying to do. For example, like various swords that are better for crit, various weapons that are better for bleed. So then not only are you looking for an item with good rolls and everything, you're also looking for a base type that synergizes as well. So then it's like it creates that feeling of, oh, this item is really good for me, or oh, this item is really good for another build, which again, it just gives players another way to min-max their character.
I think that's something they could explore after the game comes out for a while and see how that would work. I don't know how that would work as something that would happen like right off the rip. I think that again, a lot of these itemization concerns add a level of complexity that I think will be off-putting to the target audience of Diablo. That's just the truth.
And feel like they're really making a build. Because I feel like that's what's missing. Also, another thing I noticed, which this is probably going to trigger people maybe a little bit, is like when I'm playing an ARPG, generally speaking, your character is a problem. Okay? What do I mean by that? It's like, okay, I need to make a character, and I need to have enough attributes to equip X. I need to have some way to recover my life. I need to have some way to cap my resistances. Need to have some way. It's basically you have to solve all these various things, and then if you can also do that and then make it do damage and survive, then you've won, right? You've effectively, that's the fun part of like solving a character. And what feels like in D4 is you're not really solving anything. There's no attribute requirements. You've just got this global defense that makes your character more tanky. I feel like they could definitely give us like one thing which you have to solve per character. Because right now, items just kind of make you better. Your character's good, and it will always be pretty good because everything's scaling to you, which I'm going to talk about later. And you're just kind of like making your character a little bit better. And it would be nice if there was some problems to solve. I'm not saying like, hey, let's put cancer requirements on everything and let's make mandatory shit. I'm saying like, hey, if there was attribute requirements, or if there was resistances, or if there was certain things that like a checkbox that you had to tick to like be like, okay, I have to have.
I think that this is only engaging if it's not binary. So for example, the reason why PoE resistances are not awful is because you can increase your max resistances, and if you have 90 max res, that's a lot different than 75. It's a completely different thing. But whenever the problem to solve is just, do you meet this threshold? And if the answer is yes, then you win. And if the answer is no, then you lose. I think that's trash.
This, and then I can build whatever I need to make my character. There's one item that I forgot to talk about as well, and that is uniques. We have not seen those.
We saw one.
We've had a couple of examples, but they're
Yeah.
supposed to be ultra rare items that are actually build defining. And you know what? From the couple that we've seen, they look pretty decent. And maybe, you know what? That could be some of the better itemization. You basically get one unique.
Yeah, I think this is also going to be true where we're seeing these legendaries that you think are going to be build defining, but whenever you get up to max level, I think that a lot of the stuff that we see probably won't even be used at max level, because there's going to be set bonuses, these like ancient unique items or whatever the fuck. Like, there's probably going to be way more crazy shit in the game.
Item which you can equip that will augment, and they'll be like build defining.
What's this?
Which,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
that's pretty cool. So I'm kind of looking
I
forward
forgot
to
they're not
that.
doing that.
How can I talk about itemization without talking about crafting? So in Diablo 4,
I'm very torn
how do
on
I
if
put
sets
this?
are good or not, by the way.
yeah, it's basically the same as Diablo 3. You can get an item, and then say there's an affix on the item that you don't like, and you want to re-roll. You take it to a fucking person in town.
You re-roll it.
You put it into
That's
the window. It costs gold to roll it, and also some resources from a higher difficulty that we didn't have access to.
Yeah.
I don't know if that resource will be rare, but effectively the gold cost will ramp up every time you roll it. So if you're trying to perfect that item, maybe it costs a decent amount of money. So maybe a little gold sink. I was really hoping that they were going to give us some extra method for crafting. Like, you know, hey, let us lock something in and roll something and then give us a bonus stat, something, right? Something that was going to give us the ability to have a little bit more control over what we're making. You never know. With seasons, they effectively could do a crafting mechanic. You know, that could be a thing. So you got to...
I think that's what they should try to do. Yeah, like... Yeah, just try it in one of the seasons, see what happens.
That's kind of like what I'm hoping, I guess, is maybe they're just putting this in as a baseline placeholder, and then they're gonna expand on it. You know, fingers crossed. There's a jewelry crafting system. Again, it's just Diablo 3. You get 3 gems. You can make it go 3 to 1. You can then get those gems and make them into better gems.
There it is.
And this is like a big pyramid scheme. I don't know what the best gem looks like, but they all looked, you know, a similar sort of thing. You put the gem into your jewelry. It does something different if you put it in your weapon. It does something different if you put it in your...
I think gems are boring, by the way. I don't like resistances in Diablo. I think they're stupid. I think the game would just be better if it didn't have them.
Armor. And, you know, gives you a little bit of customization, which I actually like that. It's nice. I'm not saying it's a bad system. Like, I'd rather have jewels and jewel sockets than not have that, because it allows you to kind of lean into your archetype just a little bit more, you know? They also give you the ability to extract the legendary power and then put it onto another item.
I think
and you
that's
do that.
good.
You can do that one time. So you can once you destroy an item, you get a power,
That's
a
very good.
aspect, and you slam it onto a rare item, and then it makes that rare item legendary, which means, yeah, you basically have the legendary powers you want. And again, this is kind of like it's kind of like Diablo 3.5 in a way, where instead of just getting a legendary power,
the Kanai's
and then
cube.
putting it in the cube, you're kind of getting a legendary power and putting it on your item.
Well, we might also have, like, you remember, like, Kanai's cube wasn't in the game on release. It got added way later on.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, because it kind of makes items feel less special. And it means literally every item you have is legendary as well. So, you know, legendaries aren't really that legendary. It's just kind of like the standard. But, hey.
That's just how the games are nowadays. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. Legendaries always drop, and, like, every game has a bunch of them. It is what it is. The reason, like, I mean, so with resistances, I feel like it's an unnecessary complication that I don't think is really going to add a lot to the game or improve people's gameplay experience. I don't think there's going to be a lot of min-maxing for it. I think that people probably aren't going to really play around it. It's just going to be something that you have as a passive thing. I don't really see this being a benefit to the game. I don't see it being helpful for the audience of players that Diablo is trying to attract. It seems like an unnecessary complication that stands out whenever there are a lot of other much more simplistic things.
It is what it is. It gives us an ability to customize. Again, I'm not sure how I feel about it. There's one thing that's a little bit scary here, is that there's a decent amount of gold sink here with the crafting of the items costing gold, and one thing is you can trade gold. So I don't know if crafting is limited by gold heavily, and gold is actually hard to obtain considering the amount of gold sinks in the game. Are we gonna have like RMT problems with people being able to fully trade gold?
If Blizzard can't handle and deal with RMT, then I just won't play the game if it's that bad. Like, I am not going to, like, I don't want Blizzard to punish the entire player base because they are unable to moderate a $70 box price game economy. If Path of Exile can moderate the economy to the extent that I don't feel like RMT negatively influences my experience while playing Path of Exile, I will not accept a single excuse of why Blizzard cannot do the same thing. This is outrageous. That the solution to this is anything other than expect Blizzard to actually do their job and uphold integrity in their own game. What a joke.
Just putting that out there.
RMT is buying gold. Sorry. Yeah, people
now
are
let's
asking.
talk about build customization. So, Diablo 4 has a skill tree. It's kind of like Diablo 2, except a little bit easier to understand, which I'm totally okay with. The tree itself, makes sense. You start off, it doesn't overwhelm you with a bunch of stuff. Yeah. It's simple enough to understand. You go through your spec stuff, and it's a good baseline to start from. But my major gripe is that, can you add some more shit on there, please? What I mean by that, and because I see people saying,
I think that they do add more shit. It's called the Paragon board, but we'll see how transformative that really is. Yeah, you've got the Paragon board. Exactly.
Complaining about you get a whole skill tree. It's way better than Diablo 3.
Okay. Bro, they literally just got the skills from the skill page
and they just
put it onto a tree. Yeah. And then instead of getting 5 runes per skill, you get 2 runes per skill.
Steps.
Okay? So, I don't think it, it's going to overwhelm. I mean, was Diablo 3 too complicated? No, it wasn't. It was simple enough.
Fine.
All I really want is just, get what they have on there now, and maybe beyond each skill, they could just, double the amount of options we have, or even have a little mini tree behind each skill. You could even, I was even thinking about it, you could even hide that component. And so
I feel like that's probably something they should do after release based off of how people react to the game. I think a lot of these complexities, it's better for the game to release in a more simplistic state and for them to see kind of how players respond to different systems and what they like and what they dislike, rather than immediately come out the gate with like 4 different compounding systems.
When you hit level 50, a new mastery thing unlocks where you can master like 3 skills, and it unlocks a special talent tree for each skill where you can further augment the ability and how it plays to diversify your build from someone else's build. Now, they may actually already have a system that kind of works like that. Whenever I interviewed Joseph Pipiura, he said one of the lead game designers at Diablo 4, he said, yeah, we want the skill tree to be simple. They're not claiming that it's going to be crazy or anything.
Again, that's the target audience of Diablo 4. If you go into Diablo 4 wanting a Path of Exile complex experience, you have played yourself.
They basically want to onboard gamers and get them in,
that's
just playing the game, and then slowly introduce more mechanics. Now, will the Paragon board be the savior for the skill tree? From what I've seen, no. From what I've seen like a few screenshots of the Paragon board, and it looks super generic, just literal attributes and generic damage increases. But that was old info, and that could be placeholder, and maybe we will get some sort of skill mastery, skill augmentation, crazy shit that enables us to have, thousands of builds. Or maybe I'm just coping.
Yeah.
When it comes to classes and their masteries, so rogues get the ability to have basically combo points, which honestly feels like quite natural. It honestly just feels like you just have combo points all the time, but whatever. Or something called Inner Sight, where it just randomly marks people and then as long as, during a boss fight, if you can hit the Marks guy a lot, you just get infinite energy, and it's kind of broken, but whatever.
Yeah,
it felt super, I don't know. Didn't feel like I was customizing. I'm pretty sure everyone's just going to go, the one that's best.
That's what the real problem is that I don't think that all of the itemization and all of these issues and build problems are bad as long as the the spells are comparable. I don't want to be in a situation where if you look at the leaderboard, 95% of the barbarians are playing upheaval. That's what sucks. And especially if upheaval is the best in all situations. For example, there could be like in PoE, for example, there are builds that are really good for bossing, builds that are very good for speed clearing, builds that are good for magic find, builds that are good for like I think that those are basically the main ones, right? Bossing, speed clearing, and like doing delirium. But each one of those builds are not necessarily delve too, yeah. So the point is that Diablo 4, if they want to have that, the truth is that if you look at probably the fastest kills for like Searing Exarch or like the most effective DPS, probably a lot of those builds are going to be the same. But what saves it and what makes PoE more interesting is that PoE has different forms of endgame that you can pursue. So if your form of endgame is being able to clear maps faster, then you want to play this type of content and you want to play this type of build. But if your form of content and what you want to do is you want to overpower and kill the bosses faster, then you're going to play something else. So the concern is that if they only have some sort of greater rift system, there will be a build that whenever you combine every fucking thing together, this is the best build. That's it. It's the best build. Like Seismic Trap, I think, was like that with PoE recently. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But the reason why certain builds are like really, really dominant in Diablo 3, I think, is because there's only one way to play the game. You have to give multiple types of endgame, and that will create build diversity because different builds will exceed or will excel at different things.
The barbarians got like an arsenal system where, your maces would have more crit and more damage, and your swords would have a little bit more bleed damage. So you could like level up your various things, and maybe you would basically choose to build around certain weapon types to like accommodate your build. Which I like things like that where you can customize. But honestly, again, it felt quite passive, and I don't know really how much different. Like a barb that's mace spec is going to be my barb that is sword spec, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. I feel like that's something they probably need to iterate on.
The Sorcerer. Actually good game design. I really like the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer, dude, the Sorcerer's ability...
I think the Sorcerer is the best design class.
Where you basically, you pick one of the abilities that you have in your bar, and you put it into a slot. And then based on, what it's been put into, what ability you chose, it'll give you a different effect. That either could be passive, that just like, arbitrarily makes you do a little bit more ignite damage.
Like in terms of the way that the class is designed, especially like without legendaries, I would say Sorcerer is S tier and nothing else is A tier. And then maybe Rogue is A tier, depending on how you like it. I would say Rogue is B tier. And then underneath Rogue, I would probably say Barbarian and Necromancer are about equal in terms of the design, not the numbers that they do on the screen. I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm talking about how the class plays. I think Sorcerer, Rogue, Barbarian, and Necromancer tied together, and Druid at the bottom of the fucking ocean.
Damage, or it could be something that says, when you fall below fatal HP, you cheat death effectively, which... What are we doing with cheat deaths, Blizzard? Come on, don't do that. But what? Okay, regardless, there was many options, and it did genuinely feel like, hey, I can make a build that's kind of a little bit more unique here. Like, bro, straight up, they could just make some new shit for wizards. Like, just make some new wizard bullshit, and just give that wizard system to everyone. Because that's like, honestly,
It's very cool.
That
yeah.
it felt the best to make builds on the wizard simply because the wizard mechanic
Yeah.
was the most interesting one. Because you had actual choice to kind of feel like, yeah, you can really lean into a build that you're trying to make.
Yeah, you can go between map clear or like boss killing. I think the Book of the Dead for Necromancer did that, but it wasn't as good.
All right, now let's talk about something that Blizzard does well. Gameplay. How do I put this? The gameplay is clean as fuck, boy. It is nice. When you try and do the thing you're trying to do,
it does it.
It does the thing you're trying to do. And what I mean by that is, you can see a fucking thing on the ground that's coming towards you. You press your button to get out of the way. Your character gets out of the way.
Exactly.
You're currently doing an ability, and then while you're doing that ability, you realize, oh, damn, I want to move after this. You can then press the button to move. Your ability still goes off, and then you move. Mm-hmm. Not where it feels like laggy or clunky or QE, but it just feels smooth, bro. Maybe it's because I've been playing so many indie games recently that it feels so smooth, but goddamn, I honestly, when it comes to the actual just game engine combat, I think Diablo's looking pretty.
It's there. Blizzard has always done an amazing S-tier job at game feel. Like, Overwatch feels amazing to play. Diablo 3 felt amazing to play. World of Warcraft still feels amazing to play, and it came out in 2004.
Good. Pretty top. It's definitely top tier, right? Top tier. Not to mention that fact that there's a lot of really good feeling abilities.
Yeah.
Right. A lot. For example, on the Rogue, you have this thing called Shadow Imbuement, which means your next two abilities are powered up, and whatever you hit is imbued with Shadow. And when you kill them, it does like a big explosion. And you can basically, pull a bunch of monsters together, generate 3 combo points,
and then do it.
Shadow Imbue, and then use like a big attack, like a penetrating shot, and then as it goes through, boom, 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 it fucking explodes, and they set up.
And it looks cool. It feels good. This is like every single time you do that, that's like busting a nut on the screen. That's exactly what you want to have it feel like.
Same reactions, and they make this huge, clean, like nice sounding. Oh, and it really satisfies the autism of like doing that. Except it's not where you can just teleport one shot. You have to set this shit up, right? Which, again, is another thing that I like about the gameplay, which is the whole micro of actually playing the game instead of it just being some macro, like, cookie-clicker shit where you're constantly just teleporting, one-shotting. There's a lot of microing, which I like. What can I say? I'm a Diablo Andy, chat. When it comes down to a micro, moment-to-moment combat, that's big. But now let's talk about some of the stuff that's not so good.
Okay.
Level scaling exists.
I don't think level scaling is going to be that bad. I think the reason why level scaling felt so bad in the beta is because people stayed in Act 1 for the entirety of the beta. The truth is that whenever you're leveling through the game and you're going to different environments and you're fighting different monsters, the level scaling isn't going to feel as bad because you're going to be going to harder areas mentally, right? It's going to feel like, oh, you're going to Act 2, the mobs are harder in Act 2. Well, they're not really, it's just scaled up. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. And also, like, the leveling experience is going to be very short. I just don't think it's going to be a big deal. Speaking trash right now, level scaling is never a good idea. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be that bad. Because people are going to be going to different acts. They're going to be progressing the game in like a more natural way. They're not going to be spending the first 25 levels like fighting skeletons. So they're not going to see that the same skeletons they were fighting are now harder to kill because they're in a different area. They're not comparing the same mobs. It's just not going to happen. It was a very unique experience for Diablo 4 beta versus the actual game.
Basically, every time you level up, the monster levels up with you. And the result is, if you don't like literally get a big level up where you get a decent power spike from your attribute, the monster just got stronger than you.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting weaker and weaker. And then eventually you'll get a gear upgrade and you go up, but then, it keeps leveling up and it kind of balances back out again to the point where you kind of never really progress. So,
yeah, I do feel like that will feel better whenever you go through the different acts. It might feel bad still, but it will feel a lot better than it does now.
I get why they do it. It's so people who are playing couch co-op, like your boy who's like 20 levels lower than you, can play with you.
Yeah, sure.
Bro, just fuck that guy. Like, screw him, dude. I was thinking about an alternative system where perhaps the lower difficulties of the game, like the noob mode, where they could have level scaling enabled in that mode, where, fuck, anyone can play with anyone, you can do whatever you want, it's a clown fiesta, hey, have fun. But then as you go higher difficulties, maybe at a certain threshold, it just disables level scaling. So then you don't have that constant feeling, you know, where you're getting weaker. More like the monster is static level, you kind of go through and you get stronger as you level up, and the monsters don't follow with you. But
you know what I really think the problem is? I think the problem also is that some of the classes really suck to level up. Because the level scaling didn't bother me at all whenever I was playing Necromancer or Rogue or Sorcerer. But whenever I was playing Druid and Warrior, Barbarian, level scaling really sucked. Because level scaling didn't bother me at all as a Sorcerer. It didn't bother me at all as a Necromancer. So is level scaling the problem, or are bad classes the problem? I think it's mainly bad classes that suck to level up without legendaries. That's what I think.
I kind of feel like that's kind of maybe a big change. But maybe in the future, you never know. Maybe a big patch.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about the gameplay that I'm not a huge fan of is you get like progression and gold and items and shit from like clicking stuff in your interface. It reminds me of the
oh god. He's right, but it does. Yeah, it's like Lost Ark. It's like fucking every other gacha game. Yes, he's right about this.
I played a Harry Potter console game recently where you had to constantly go in and claim shit, and it's the same shit where it's artificial content where they create like a bunch of like they give you a bunch like, you need to get 30 of these and 10 of these and 10 of those, and once you get all these things, then you get gold and a point.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Can't we just get shit from killing stuff or doing quests or like?
No, because the reason why is because putting those goals out there makes people go out and do those goals for content. That's why they put achievements in World of Warcraft. It's because it works.
Why we gotta do this mini like mobile phone fucking interface panel shit?
And also, like somebody mentioned a really smart thing in chat, it makes you see the store page. Yes, a lot of things like this cause you to open up the menu. And the closer that you are to having your button on the store page, and oh, you accidentally opened up the store. Oh, man. Okay, well, what's on the store? Let's just take a look at it. So, yeah, it's just, again, that's probably another big reason. Absolutely.
Hey, just a personal gripe of mine. There's a weird rubber banding issue whenever you go through zones.
Yeah, this is
you
bad.
like try and phase, and your character just does like
I'm sure this will be fixed by release, and it won't happen.
fucking lagging out.
Yeah, there's
and
no
I'm
way.
assuming that is a part of the
guys.
beta and is not going to make it in, but I got to put that into the feedback. Another little thing is, why are keybinds locked out at any points? Like, are console players' brains really going to explode if their keybinds aren't like? Can we not? You're limited by the amount of skills you have at the early game. Just let us drag our abilities to the keybinds that we want to have them on. You know, like goddamn, or even just have an option in the settings that says advanced mode. You know, you can drag your abilities wherever you want at the beginning. You're not like have to hit some random level before you can actually like change your keybinds.
I think this really matters whenever you're talking about force move. Having move only. So PoE, there's like a basic attack. You can put a basic attack, you can put a barrier, you can put anything on like your left mouse button. But a lot of people just have that bound to move, right? All it does is move. Diablo doesn't have that option. I think that's worse. And I don't think this is a petty complaint, because it is It feels really bad whenever you're trying to click to move around something and you click on a mob and it attacks them. It feels like shit.
There's also a small issue where the left click, when you basically
annoying.
want to change the left click keybind,
Yeah.
you can't have interact and force move on the same key, which is just a massive oversight, which I assume they're going to fix that one, but I got to...
Another solution to this is add WASD movement like you should have. Like, I mean, WASD is superior. I would enjoy the game more if I was able to move with WASD. Please add WASD.
Put it in. There was a meta of literally doing quests that basically, well, not quests, doing events that were rewarded.
I will also repeat myself. Any argument and any person who is against WASD is stupid. You're just stupid. I have not read a single good argument from a single smart person about why WASD is bad. Every single argument that I've read is just it's so fucking stupid, and it's immediately disprovable.
Reward you with like blood shards effectively to buy legendaries and good gear with, and then you would teleport to town, teleport back in, it would reset, and you would do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again, and it would quickly make you want to like log out, right? So obviously I think they should totally disable the ability to like repeatedly do the same event over and over again, because guess what, if it's efficient, people will do it. Pack size inconsistency. I don't want them to make every single fucking room just stacked with monsters.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
stupid. Because then it turns from micro gameplay, like you want to see individual telegraphed attacks and actually dodge and play the game, right? But
no, you just CC the mobs. That way you don't have to do that.
Certainly, occasionally, we should see big density. And you, right now, outside of like clicking shrines or certain events, you don't get that giga density. I feel like you could totally have a little bit more juice, you know, in some of these maps, or well, I call them maps, but some of these dungeons. And then on top of that, there's often times where you walk into a dungeon and you've literally ran 3 screens and there's not been a single monster, and you're like, okay, well, what's going on here?
Yeah, feast and famine is a negative, and it's like some of the dungeons, like that one that I would farm, sometimes there's like 6 big boy rare spawns in the same area. I think that's pretty cool, but other times there's like nothing there. Yeah, there's a huge discrepancy multiple times.
So then you need to look into the code that is, controlling the pack size, in my opinion. But I'm not saying perma 24/7 density. I like micro, right? I like moment-to-moment combat. Like, don't get rid of that shit. You know, a few hard, difficult enemies at the same time, or even just one guy. You know, fuck it. Difficulty. What's going on? The game is too easy. Even on the veteran mode at the very beginning.
I don't think the game is too easy. I think the game is perfectly fine. Like on veteran mode, it is plenty challenging. It is more than challenging enough. This is not meant to be a test of skill.
Game, no gear, nothing. You can just stand in every mechanic the boss is doing and just chug health potions and just attack, and you will win. Like, that's stupid. Come on. Veteran mode, make it harder. Now, I'm not saying you need to make the easy mode harder. You can have, like, the Braid Finder difficulty that the people who just want to go through and do the lore can go through and do the lore.
I agree with Quin on this. I would be totally fine if they had a third difficulty option, like a big dick difficulty option, where everything was really, really hard, but it gave way better rewards. I would actually like that.
Like, one of the benefits of having multiple difficulty tiers in a game is that, hey, you can just easily tune that shit. Just straight up, make veteran mode harder.
They do? We're talking about leveling. We're not talking about, like, hardcore mode. Inferno? No. Those aren't in for leveling. Those are, like, max level stuff. That's level 60 content.
Something that I felt like, and a lot of other people also were saying, maybe this is just like a Reddit anti-comment, though, but, bro, can we just get another skill slot? Straight up. It feels...
I would like to, instead of having another skill slot, I would like to have a separate button that is used for your ultimate ability. Because I feel like almost everybody wants to have an ultimate ability, and it's, I think, probably a good idea to give people an ultimate ability, and just have that be a separate button. 6 spells is pretty reductive.
Like, all the builds... I always wanted one more ability. It was always like, oh, this is really good, but now I don't even have enough room. I have to drop like a duplicate something for, you know, I could have fit in my ultimate with all my other shit. Oh, my build would be so much better if I could have this one extra ability. It would be pretty nice, hey, if we could have an extra skill slot. But ultimately, if you don't, you don't. It is what it is. It's just another constraint. Which, constraints are good sometimes.
You think console? You think they can't? You think that 6 buttons is fine, but bro, console, bro, you just can't swing it. Bro, you can't ask like how can you possibly have 7 buttons on a console game? How's that possible? Oh my god. Oh.
A thing that Crip made me aware of apparently is there's no grace periods when you go through dungeons.
This is also a very, very, very good point. I totally agree with Quin on this. By the way, I was joking around with that. Final Fantasy XIV has dozens of abilities that you can keybind on consoles. There's literally no excuse because you can have 6 buttons versus 7. This is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Now, the grace period, I also totally agree with, because there are going to be dungeons where you zone into the dungeon and you have a bad computer and you could get killed by a mob closer to the beginning of the dungeon. I don't know why they don't just have a grace period like PoE does. It's an improvement on the game. Why not make the game better? I don't understand what the problem is.
It's a massive problem for hardcore.
Yeah.
Where if you come out of a dungeon, the game lags and there's a bunch of monsters outside, then you're just dead. Or you just come out of a dungeon and just get instantly gibbed by someone deliberately pulling monsters to the beginning of the dungeon to kill you. Or to kill just random players to basically troll.
Yeah, of
which
course.
is just stupid, right? We should have at least a 10-second grace period. Or just a grace period until we start moving.
Just give people a 30-second or 45-second grace period. And then as soon as they perform an action inside of the area, then the grace period goes away. That's exactly what PoE does. It works perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't understand. Yeah. Just do it exactly like PoE. Just take what they did and do that.
Go in and out of an instance. The potion system that exists in the game, where you basically can level up your potions, or they just change your potions, and like at random level caps they get better, and you just pick up potions off the ground, and like bosses drop potions at certain thresholds. I don't know if we had too many potions, or if the game was just too easy, but generally speaking, the only time that it felt like intense or fun was when my potions were low. If my potions were high, like what I realized was, oh wait a minute. As long as I can just do enough damage to the boss or the mob that I'm fighting, right? To just constantly get another potion before I'm dead, I can just sit here attacking.
Yeah, I don't think they should change it. The truth is, Quin is like a fucking S tier, 10,000 to 20,000 hour, probably more than that ARPG player. Of course it's going to be easy for him. Like, no shit. But I think for an average person, it will still remain challenging.
Mob until until it's dead. As long as I just keep chugging potions, which it felt like potions are maybe a little bit OP. And I don't know if they need a little cooldown between each use, or if they need to be slightly nerfed, or you just need to make the game a little bit harder in general. I don't know. It's an interesting system though. It's kind of like a mix, kind of like a D2 kind of vibe.
Open world. All right, here we go.
Now let's talk about the open world of Diablo 4. Yes, Diablo 4 is an MMO as well as an ARPG.
Basically, yes.
And honestly, it's really MMO-ish. Like, when you are not inside of a dungeon, when you're not inside an instanced area...
And this is good, by the way. I'm a huge supporter of this.
Okay? It literally feels like World of Warcraft. Same energy. Like, if you've kind of got to max level in World of Warcraft... And then you're kind of running around and you've got like world quests spawning around and oh shit, I've got a world boss spawn. Like I haven't killed the world boss, so I need to log in. Yeah, it's exactly that energy. You're in town. Exactly. You can see people in town walking around, just salvaging gear, just putting stuff in the bank. You can inspect their gear.
Yeah, that's so important, being able to see people in the game.
I believe you will be able to talk to them because in the beta, for whatever reason, we couldn't talk in the local chat. I don't know why, but we couldn't. Maybe it was just oceanic only. They didn't want to have the toxic oceanic frogs talking with each other. But, yeah, it's really MMO-y. The thing that scares me is the trappings of MMOs. Like, am I going to have some bullshit that requires me to log in and do my more dailies and then farm out my Torghast and then go and, my world boss cooldown reset, and then I've got to actually do my weekly heroics, and then I've got, all these chores to do effectively.
I don't think that's really an MMO problem. That's a Blizzard problem, and it's a Warcraft problem. Like, Final Fantasy doesn't have that, and also, what was it? Like, New World doesn't really have a lot of that. There are daily activities that you can do. Like, it's definitely true that there are still daily activities. But I think that with Warcraft, it's, like, much more pronounced.
Where it changes from a game to this thing which has all these fucking artificial hooks that try and keep you on the game. Like, no, you're not going anywhere. Because I hate that. When I play MMOs, and when I stop playing them, it feels like I've quit a job and I have all this free time.
Yeah.
When I play ARPGs, it never feels that way. I can just log in, I can game when I want to game. If I want to log out and go do some other stuff, I don't feel like I'm missing out. And that's the scary thing. Now, whenever I interviewed some of the Diablo devs, we couldn't post the video, unfortunately. They did say, no, we're not going to have all that bullshit. You'll just have, like, you just see people in town. When you're out doing an event, you're going to have people interacting with you. And to be fair, that's kind of what it felt like. So I'm kind of...
I feel like if they add dailies or something like that, we'll cross that bridge whenever we get to it. There's no indication of that. I feel like Battle Pass activities will function as that anyway. So it probably won't be necessary. I think that the Battle Pass will function as dailies.
Like, I'm open to it, and honestly, I like World of Warcraft. I don't mind MMO shit. But I'm worried that it's going to turn into some bullshit where we have like...
I don't want to have to, like, log in and do 3 random dungeons a day. Like, for example, like, I don't want to have to log in and make sure I get my world boss kill for the day. Yeah, I just don't want to deal with that.
Dailies, weeklies, various things, and...
I think another reason for that is because whenever you have that, you create a system where people feel like, oh, because I'm not doing this, I've, like, kind of quit the game. Like, it makes people not want to come back because they've skipped lockouts and resets. So it becomes like it's a barrier to entry, and it's also a barrier to re-entry.
We're just chained to the game, so to speak.
Yeah, it's too much. I didn't like this, by the way, about...
Okay.
I didn't like that about Diablo Immortal either. How they fucking... What was it that they time-gated Paragon levels. So you couldn't just level all the way up in Diablo Immortal. You couldn't just get the best gear. You had to just wait for some arbitrary time period in order for you to actually complete things in the game. It was stupid.
Now let's talk about endgame. What will it look like? So, from what we can tell, basically you'll finish your main story, you'll finish your quests, you'll go around and you'll kind of hunt all these little statues, kind of like the Coco sees at a Lost Ark. You basically look around and you find all these statues which gives you permanent buffs.
Yep.
There'll be various things you need to complete to effectively get your reputation or your renown up to get other permanent account-wide buffs. And then from that point on, you're going to have world events, and then you're going to have dungeons. And then on top of that, you'll have world boss, and then you'll have... the nightmare dungeons, which are effectively...
Yeah, I'm fine with that. The completionism stuff, I think it's great, but I don't want to do it more than one season. I want to, after I get a Lilith statue, I want to be done. I don't want to ever get another that same Lilith statue. I don't want to be like, oh, I've got 28 Lilith statues, new season comes out, now I need to get the same 28 Lilith statues. And before you say, well, what if they rearrange them? That would be worse. Then I can't just do it more easily. It's not fun. It's something you do once. It's nice whenever you're enjoying the game a lot, explore the map. Okay, you've been there, you've done that, let's move on. Don't make people do the same stupid shit 2 times. It's awful. Dragonflight Renown is pretty good with that.
Mythic Plus,
reset it? I don't think they should reset it.
Kind of like maps from Path of Exile, if you're a Pee-wee gamer. where it's a harder version of the current dungeons that
renowned
exist,
should
and
stay the same.
and then because they're harder, they give you more rewards, and as you go through higher ones, they get harder, and they even get more affixes. We don't know what all the affixes are going to be, as far as I'm aware. They weren't in the beta, but yeah, you'll progress through a nightmare dungeon system effectively to the point where you get to Nightmare Dungeon 100, and then I guess you win at that point. Which is kind of a little bit scary as the dungeon system itself. The dungeons don't feel very unique. A lot of them feel very samey, like there's just like a corridor with a larger area at the end where...
It's like a room, and there's like a guy in the room, you kill the guy, and then there's another hallway, there's like maybe a bat in the hallway, and then there's a guy at the end of the hallway.
You have something you've got to interact with or do, or you get to a door you can't get through, and you have to run and get a box, and then take the box to the other box. And then, actually, you need 2 boxes, so... oh, shit, you actually ran past one, you gotta backtrack. And get that box, and then bring it back up, and then you get through the door, and then... Hey, guess what? There's a boss there, and you kill him. PogChamp. Sometimes it's like you have to destroy some altars, and, you destroy altar 1, altar 2, and altar 3.
I also think that dungeons being stale could be an outcome of us only playing Act 1. Because while they did have, I think the number was like 28 dungeons, or 20-something dungeons... They didn't have 20 dungeons. They had about 4. And there were about 5 variations of one dungeon. So whenever we go and we play all of the acts and we have all of the dungeons active, that means that we're going to have probably, in terms of like unique tile sets, maybe like 15 to 25 unique tile sets, which is okay.
And then, hey, PogChamp, you can now go through a door and there's a boss there and you kill him. Sometimes you get the same thing, you kill all 3, and then it just says dungeon complete, and there's no boss. And you're like, so what have I just achieved? What am I?
There should be a
What I'm
chest
saying
there.
is the dungeon system can be improved massively. They're not very unique. A lot of them are just annoying. And yeah, really, I don't know. I don't know what. I really hope that we can have a decent dungeon overhaul before the game is actually released live. Otherwise, I think people might get bored of that shit really fast.
I don't know how bad it's really going to be, because people are going to go from the different acts pretty fast, and they're probably not going to go and try to complete every single dungeon in the act. But again, I think that these kinds of problems will like literally multiply if you make people repeat the same menial, boring tasks every league.
One of the positives,
like, a good example of this is lab in PoE. Like, oh my fucking god. Like, I'm so glad they improved it.
Is that, guess what? In D4, there's a Paragon system, but it's going to be capped. So, hey, that's a plus side. So you won't have some infinite grind that never ends. You'll effectively
get... so like, there's... remember, who was the guy whose brother would sometimes play on his account? And he was like Paragon, like 25,000 or something like that. I forgot who that was. But yeah, Gabinator. Yeah, it was Gabinator. Yeah, there it is. And so it's like, yeah, it's like his brother plays on the account, and it's, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, your character up, you'll level it up to the Paragon cap. You'll get it kind of perfect, you'll progress, and then you'll kind of get to this point where it's done. And then you'll be like, hey, I've completed that character, and you can move on, or you can do whatever. What I think they need, and what I hope they're going to include, and we haven't seen yet, and that is static content. I want end-game...
There is not a bigger true than this. I completely fucking agree with this more than anything else in this entire video. Static, benchmark, big dick content.
Dick measuring contests, right?
Yes.
I'm talking like a fucking...
Shaper.
A very hard boss that is very hard. Like, I'm talking like as hard as the hardest nightmare dungeon, except it's static.
And yeah, there's not an easy mode. There's not a hard mode. Maybe this hard mode gets added in a year. He's right there. And you beat him, you beat him. You don't beat him, there's no easy mode.
So if you've beaten it, then everyone knows you've beaten that thing.
That's right.
Joe down the road, if he's beaten it, you're like, oh, damn, it's Joe.
That's what makes the PoE endgame meaningful. In my opinion, I think that is so fucking important to PoE endgame.
Who's got a big dick? He's beating that boss. Or, damn, how do you even do that?
Yep,
Is it even possible? Can you even beat it?
There
so
it is.
I'm talking static, even maybe static dungeons, some special dungeons that are the same, that have some rewarding element, like some big, long, epic one with some crazy boss fights and shit that are static. You know, things that you can really measure, like, oh, how's my character doing? Example would be, you know, I don't want to say Path of Exile. They have some really nice static bosses.
Exactly.
Look at Shaper, for example.
Great example. Very, very good example to use. Totally agree with this. Really smart thinking on that one.
And then look at Elder. Look at Uber Elder. Things like this.
Yes.
The Maven. You can basically do these static bosses, and you know, you can feel like, damn, my character's OP, or damn, my character's not as good as my other guy. What can I do to improve him? All that stuff. I feel like that would vastly improve the end game, is if we have some sort of thing to measure our
benchmarks, dick measuring contests. Absolutely. Like, it's like, are you 6 inches or are you 7? Time to find out. Queue up to this boss.
Characters with. And then, maybe I'm hoping too much, but even some aspirational shit. Some giga hard, ultra boss, uber bosses.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey,
oh,
you know what? You don't need to put that in straight away though, Blizzard. You can put that.
Yeah. Put that in later.
That in later in the season. It's
100%.
fine. There's also going to be a little bit of end game, and that'll be cosmetic farming. People are getting rare mount drops. So I mean, I think I can think of someone in particular. I don't know, some of your boys. Some guy anyway who likes to farm mounts, and I'm sure that's going to be very entertaining. You know, like, hey, there's areas where you can farm particular mounts from rare monsters. I don't know. Maybe that can be pretty cool.
I am going to use the most degenerate fucking methods to get these mounts too.
And then,
yep.
Ultimately, why am I not playing some ARPG right now? Why am I, you know, what keeps you playing a game like Path of Exile, for example? Okay, sure, systems, all this other shit, but the main thing is content, seasons.
Yes.
The big thing that could carry D4 and its end game could be the seasons. And after talking to Joseph Pipiora, we did like a conversation. Again, we couldn't post the video. It was pretty promising. I'm going to paraphrase here, but let me just read this off. He, quote unquote, we want there to be crazy stuff during seasons.
That sounds great. That's exactly what I want to hear from the developers. What do you want during seasons? Oh, we want it to be like some fucking crazy shit that happens. Okay, good. All right, that's what I want to hear.
Ways to get power. Completely new systems that make you rethink how you interact with your character. Monsters. Character/monsters. For example, augment how gems work. And they're going to be completely designing seasons where
the butcher is in every dungeon. That's right.
They can remove them after 3 months. They don't want to bloat the game. If there is a season mechanic that is very well received,
maybe they'll put it into the core of the game. They could potentially tweak it
and then reintroduce it into the game again.
Yeah, good idea.
Because basically, again, they don't want to add in tons of power and have giga power creep.
Oh, yeah.
Seasons won't just be the seasonal feature. They could do several of the following. Spruce.
Yeah, 10 butchers. Like, imagine if there's, like, a map, and instead of, like, a bunch of treasure goblins, it's just 10 of them. Fresh meat! And there's, like, fucking 5 butchers that just come at you. I think that'd be awesome.
Up certain areas of the game.
Yeah, they
introduce
all
a new monster type. New quest lines. New characters in seasons, new bosses, new pinnacle challenges.
That's what matters. There it is.
Yep. Holy
big
shit.
Dick.
New tile sets, live events that could only appear a month into the seasons.
That's cool.
I mean, hey, that shit gives me actual hope as well. Because let's be real, chat. Even if the game like somehow like flops on a bunch of these other facets, if they put in good content and the game's fun to play, that could totally save Diablo 4, right? I mean, it's not even need to be saved. I mean, the game's gonna be good enough, but this can make it really fucking good, which kind of like, I don't know, gets me a little bit excited just reading that. Like,
double down season.
New pinnacle challenges? What the fuck does that mean?
New bosses.
Another thing as well, in terms of in-game, just I wanted to add this in. It's just on the bottom here, a little bit janky, but I was thinking, hey, we're never gonna get solo self-found in a fucking MMO. But how about this, Blizzard? an SSF flag. Okay, so
I don't understand why you can't have solo self-found. Why not?
basically your account is flagged for that season as it gets like a little solo flag, as long as you never group and never trade. Providing your account hasn't traded or grouped the entire season, you could just have like when you view the profile, and you know if there is going to be a leaderboard, you could just filter by solo players, and then that would allow gamers such as myself.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be down with that.
Who don't want to be forced into like meta group gameplay to basically identify as a solo gamer, and then you could look at the other solo gamers and then compare yourself to them instead of the group Andys.
Solo Andy,
aka micropeen gamers.
There it is.
If you've made it this far into the video, then you've reached the end. Okay, that is pretty much the major feedback that I wanted to give based on the beta. Now, don't worry, it's not over. I will continue to give constructive criticism wherever I see it. If I see something that, I think is bad or good, I will give feedback, even if nobody wants to listen. Hey, I will be there to just scream into the void. And I feel like to kind of wrap it up, the video, and to conclude it, like, hey, is this game going to be good if you're just a person who buys a game and then plays it for a bit and then quits? Like, bro, absolutely. You're absolutely going to get your money's worth. Like, bro, it's going to be a AAA game. It looks sick. It plays sick. Diablo 4 is at least going to be a good game to buy and play through once.
I would agree.
Now, the question of, will this be a forever game? That you
what do you mean a forever game, bro? Like, how you gonna fucking know that? How does anybody know that? Like, I don't know.
Want to log in and play for tens of thousands of hours, and you're making crazy builds, and you're doing insane shit, and it's like always new content dropping, and this insane in-game content you're trying to beat. Okay, that's ultimately gonna come down to Blizzard. Godspeed. Good luck, Blizzard. And
I'm sure it'll be great.
I'll see you on launch day.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty fair. I think that pretty much everything he talked about was kind of on point. I don't know about the itemization and difficulty things, because I think that obviously Diablo 4 is being it's being marketed much more towards like casual Andys, stuff like that.
I really hope.
And whenever you have casual Andys, you're probably not going to have super hard difficulty, really high complexity, etc. So it's kind of hard for me to say that that's a good thing. However, pretty much everything else I would say is. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I think also they should release it with without a lot of complexity. And if players are like, hey, we want more of this, this is the best thing about seasons. Is that seasons allow them to try something, and the thing that they're trying has like a guaranteed expiration date. And if it's bad, get rid of it. And if it's not bad, make it core. That's what I think they should do. This is a very good video by Quin. It's an hour long. We watched this. I'm very glad that I went through the whole thing. This game's marketed to casuals. What's this here? Games marketed to casuals doesn't give you an excuse to make shittily designed systems under the guise of simplicity. Yeah, it is, because what one person thinks is shittily designed, another person doesn't. And also, you thinking that obvious choices in builds is shitty design is your opinion. I think that there are a lot of other people that want to have obvious choices because they're casual players. It's that simple. It's not bad design. I just think balance is off, but I like a lot of design. Yeah, we're going to have to see what things are like at in-game, and then we'll go from there. I think that's what matters the most. True and obvious choices aren't always the best. Yep, sometimes that's the case. I've heard many complaints about PoE skill tree from new players. You're right. Absolutely. And I think things like the PoE skill tree can make it very unapproachable for new players. Like, I would say most of the people that I know that don't play PoE, the reason why they don't play it is because of the skill tree. A lot of people work for a living. Game takes 20 hours to get started, and the end game is infinitely better than one that takes 100 to get started. Most people don't spend more than 300 hours a year on a single game. Yeah, exactly. You just said Sork is the most fun class to play, and its design's perfect. It's a perfect example of the complexity that would be perfect, easy to understand, but in-depth and intricate. Yeah, exactly. And there are obviously going to be like items that are really good and build defining, and I don't think that's something that's bad. What did you guys think of the video? Do you guys agree with this? I feel like I pretty much agreed with everything. Minus, of course, the itemization stuff. It's not even really an agree or not. I just think that they should start with simpler itemization and then scale up from there and see how players respond to it. Yeah, this is a very good video. Quin's been playing Diablo forever, so I'm glad to see it. Enough time to invest in PoE to understand anything. It's like a full-time job. Well, I don't know if it's a full-time job, but it does take a lot of investment to be good at it. You're definitely right about that. For fucking sure. Cares about balance level 25 when you'll spend an entire 11 minutes there? Yeah. That's where I think they're probably going to think with the scaling stuff. I don't think the scaling stuff is that big of a deal. At least I don't think it will be that big of a deal.